look forward to the information that we will get as a result of this hearing. As I think everyone knows, I am a First Amendment hawk. I am one of a very small number of conservative Republicans who voted against the flag-burning amendment simply because I felt it intruded on our First Amendment rights. I feel very strongly about protection of the First Amendment, and as you indicated, my interpretation of the Supreme Court's ruling was different than yours. And let me give you this to think about as an example of what I think they did in their decision. Let's go back just a few weeks ago to the eve of a federal election. A corporate employee went on the air to describe a candidate in that election as, among other things, and I quote, an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, reactionary, supporter of violence against women and against politicians with whom he disagrees. Now, this statement was made in a corporate studio, broadcast with corporate money, directed to the voting public, clearly designed to influence their opinion of the candidate, which it may have done, but perhaps not in the way the employee had intended. Now, in spite of this clear intent to influence an election with corporate money, the corporate employee responsible for these statements was able to broadcast them without any fear of violating our election laws. He did not have to hire counsel to advise him if the statement could be legally broadcast, and he did not have to check with the FEC to see if they would permit him to make the statement before doing so. These statements were made before the Citizens United decision was handed down, but they could be made with the full confidence that there would be no legal consequence because the corporation for which this employee worked was a media corporation. Had any other corporation used their Treasury funds to broadcast a similar statement on the eve of an election, they would have been guilty of a crime. And that was on Monday, but by Friday of that week, things had changed, and the Supreme Court said that the First Amendment applies to all Americans and not just those who own their own TV shows. And with this decision, all Americans can know they're free to speak their minds on issues of public concern without having to get the permission of the government. All Americans can make their views known about federal elections without having to hire counsel to vet their words and make sure they're abiding by the law. All Americans can praise or criticize office holders without having to worry about committing a crime. And if I may, as a comment on this statement I've quoted, all Americans have the right to make fools of themselves by going over the top, if they want to, without worrying about having the government come in and say, you can't do this. That's the essence of the First Amendment, that everybody should be treated alike, everybody should have the same rights, everybody should be able to deal with speaking freely and boldly and sometimes foolishly with respect to an election. That's a good thing. It should not be feared. It should be cheered and celebrated. So for that reason, I am supportive of the Supreme Court decision and look forward to the testimony of our witnesses.
Thank you, Senator Bennett. Senator Feingold has to chair a hearing very shortly, so we're going to, if with Senator